Greetings there, sword friends. This is the final project of Swords of Northshire. This katana is called the Silver Dragon Katana, and this is the final project of a replacement that they made for me. This is actually part 2 of Swords of Northshire review that I put in. I'll leave a link down below for the first part. The first sword I received was this one, which by all means is a beautiful sword, but it had some imperfections in it. It had a canted blade, a couple little things here and there. Like I said, you could check out the other review to see what was wrong with it. And Bryce from customer service, which is pretty much the man at Swords of Northshire, he was willing to basically replace the sword for me and actually allowed me to customize a totally new sword with everything that you see on here. I picked everything myself. I customized everything, every piece of it according to their selections or whatever they offer, and I put together a really nice sword. I actually did cut with it today. That's why I'm with the shovel. I actually just finished a cutting session, which is going to go at the end of this video as well. So we'll go basically detail by detail. Alright, the first thing I want to start with is the Kashira. It's actually a really nice piece. It fits with the whole Silver Dragon piece set with this sword. It's got some nice little dragon details in it with this silver copper look. It's actually, I think they're copper pieces. You can see once we pan a little bit closer how there is scaly details on the side, which is actually very impressive. For a molded piece, it actually is very detailed. It almost actually looks handmade. The terminations are pretty good. You can see a little bit of the Samigawa wrap peeking in from underneath, but for the most part, nothing bites in your hand, doesn't wiggle, it's tight, does the job, looks great. Moving on. Now we're into the Tsuka. The handle is a thin handle shape. It's not really wasted or hourglass shape, but it just it has a little bit of a distal taper towards the end, towards down to the Kashira. But for the most part, it fits great in the hand. It's got a nice consistent shape to it. The actual Ito wrap is a leather wrap or imitation leather wrap. And I gotta say, it's actually probably the most comfortable fitting wrap that I've tried. Some might argue on that, but I personally really like how this leather or imitation leather feels in the hands. It just feels very comfortable in the hands, very good grip, and it's very easy to control. And it's actually one of my favorites, if not the favorite so far. The Samigawa there's no emperor nodes, but it's very high quality Samigawa. It looks great. It's very lustrous. It gives the whole Tsuka a really amazing feel and look to it in combination with the leather and the red and the black. I think it looks fantastic. Now the Fuchi, or the collar ring, the termination, well, first the detail of it, they're all copper fittings. Apparently that's what they tell me, they're copper fittings, and they feel like copper, they look like copper, so I'm assuming that's what it is. The termination on this Fuchi could have been a little bit better. There is some space between the Seppa and the Fuchi, which I think I'm going to have to work on and maybe hammer it a little tighter, because it does cause the Tsuba to wiggle a very slight bit. And you can see actually where the space is with the Seppa. That could have been done a little bit better, but for the most part, this is a very tight angle, but at first view and holding it, it doesn't really bite into your hand. I don't see any problem with that there, and they're pretty much all part of the same set, so they all have the same type of details, and they're all consistent with each other, and they blend very well together. So all around, Fuchi looks pretty good. Next is the Tsuba, or the handguard. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the sword. I just feel like it just kind of joins the saya with the handle, the Tsuka. It adds a nice complement between the two major parts of the sword, and I think this doesn't fall short as far as doing a great job in terms of bringing the sword together. Again, same detail with the Silver Dragon around the Tsuba. That looks great. Nice little swirly lines, a lot of little beautiful details, scales you can see in there. Color detail is fantastic. It just, I think this is also a great piece, and it really does bring the entire sword together when you see it as a whole. Next you have the Kuragata, or the knob. It's in bullhorn. Everything's in bullhorn, including the Koiguchi and the Kojiri end cap are all in bullhorn, which is great. The actual Kuragata has those little shinodomes, which really the only thing that doesn't match on the sword is those gold shinodomes. It should have been silver, but not a problem. I'm gonna probably end up removing them at one point. But what I like about the sageo is actually it's in leather. Now, you guys can comment below, but I have never seen Katana, production Katana, with a leather style sageo wrap. I think it looks really nice. It actually matches with the Ito wrap really well. And again, just everything on this sword just complements and works well together. It really is aesthetically, everything comes together extremely well, and I'm very, very impressed the fact that there is a leather sageo that just matches the rest of the sword. Now, some might say it's not very practical, it's a little thin, it might not be good for a practitioner, which I'm not really a major practitioner. I like to swing, I like to play with the swords, but I'm not, you know, a professional practitioner, so that doesn't bother me. I just like the fact that it looks different and it really complements the rest of the sword. So next thing we're going to talk about is the saya. The saya is just a plain black lacquered saya, but that it's smooth. There's no bumps or abnormalities in terms of the paint. I think it was like a triple paint. It looks great. What really highlights this saya and this sword is the amazing paintings that they put onto this saya. The two paintings that were put onto this saya is a cherry blossom tree or flowers that obviously is Japan. And the next thing is a volcano, which might be like Mount Fuji or whatever it is. There's many active volcanoes in Japan. So, but basically it paints a picture of Japan with the flowers, the cherry blossoms, and the volcano with the smoke and the lava spewing out. I think they did a great job. And if you notice the close-up details of the volcano, I mean, it looks like a three-dimensional painting. It's whoever did the paintwork on this side did an amazing job. I'm actually very happy with it. It just makes the sword so much more artistic. It's a beautiful weapon to look at, to display, but it's also a very good nimble cutter. Great blade, sharp, speed, agility. It's an all-around really good sword. Part of the customizations in North Swords and Northshire, you're able to acid sketch things onto the sword itself, or the blade. I chose to edge in Silver Dragon because that's pretty much the name of the sword, and that's the whole theme of the sword. And on one side, and on the other side, I actually had a Oriental Dragon, basically scaling down the Ha on the other side of the sword from the Habaki, and both of them are very detailed and look great, and again really complement the sword. And it's great that you're able to have that service with Northshire to be able to do something like that. So it just further allows you to customize it and make the sword your own style, your own taste, and it really adds to the whole experience of dealing with them to have these options. Now, the Habaki is a silver polished Habaki. It has a pretty good shape to it. The edges could have been maybe done a little bit better, but overall it does fit the blade very well. It has a great look to it. Again, it complements the rest of the sword. It fits perfectly onto this particular Silver Dragon sword. Next is the blade, where most people are interested in more than anything else on a katana. The blade is a clay tempered 1095 carbon steel blade. It's a Maru or a mono steel construction, where it's basically the same steel, hardened same steel around the entire sword. The HRC on the cutting edge is at around 60, where the spine, they're staying at 53, so it's kind of too hardened throughout the whole thing. But it's, I did cut with it, did some major cutting with it. I really pushed it through tatami mats. I didn't see any damages, any rolling, any major scratches that can't come out with the little mother's meg. The shine is still there. There's nothing to be concerned with after a major cutting session. And the hamon, I don't know if you can see it in the pictures, is actually beautiful. Actually, I've seen hamon like this in more expensive types of swords that give you that little cloudy hamon effect. It's actually even better than the first sword that I got from them. It's actually very impressive to me. Then you got the Kasaki, which is you can see the termination of the Kasaki is actually pretty good. You can see it was actually polished down a little bit different than you see the line of the Occult and the Shinobi line. I think it's actually done pretty well. It's got a nice shape to it. Koiguchi, or the mount of the saya, is actually shaped okay. It's just that I think they didn't anticipate for the Habaki size, and I needed to actually go in with a metal grinder, a metal filer, and I had to file some of the wood out because it was extremely tight as far as going in and out. I mean, you had to use excessive force to really get it in and out. But what's most impressive about the measurements that I took, they are pretty much exactly what the certificate that they give you says the sword is going to be, or even going back to the website, even the basic measurements of the website when you're shopping the sword are exactly what I got in my measurements. I mean, a centimeter or two off here and there, but for the most part, it's very impressive that they're able to deliver exactly what they're advertising and what the certificate that they give you says, which means they put a lot of effort and thought into making the swords. And they take pride. They take pride in what they do, and it shows in their final product and their customer service. There you have it. While you feast your eyes on some more shots of this little beauty, this is a sword from Swords of Northshire. This is my second sword from them. First sword I wasn't happy with, and customer service is do whatever they can to make the customer happy. They were able to have me choose a brand new sword. And this is the project that I finished with. Very good experience working with them, but let me stop talking and let me get into what the part of the review that you guys are mostly waiting for. Sorry it took so long, the cutting test. So let's get into it. It's a good combination of speed and cutting power, and I gotta tell you firsthand, it has speed and has great cutting power. So whatever they did with this sword, they did a great job with it. I'm extremely happy with its performance in doing tamashigiri today. Thanks everybody for sticking around and watching this very extensive review today and cutting test. Hope you enjoyed it.